Hello, this is Zena, and today I'm reviewing Arteza gouache versus Holbein gouache. A side-by-side comparison, the size difference between the Arteza and the Holbein is very significant. The Arteza set comes in 24 with 12 milliliter tubes, which is about $22.99. If I did the math right, it's 95 cents per tube, or about 8 cents per milliliter, which is super cheap, compared to the Holbein, which is 12 5 milliliter tubes in a set, which is $46.68. That is about $3.89 per tube, or 78 cents per milliliter. I put my gouache in a traveling case so I can take it on the go, and the nice thing about gouache is that it reactivates. My footage cut out when I was filming the Arteza's swatch, but I do have the swatches when they were dried, just to see how it worked with my paper, which was the Canson mixed media paper. As you can see, the Holbein one is definitely more velvety, and then the Arteza one has a little bit of streaking going on with it. Okay, so I decided to make this experiment with as little variables as possible, so I made an Adobe Photoshop sketch and printed that on the same type of paper for both the Holbein and the Arteza, so that way we can only focus on the paint itself, not the composition or the paper. So it's same paper and same sketch, just different paint. So one thing I just kind of want to mention here is that both the Holbein and Arteza, they do have labels of the color, the light fastness, the transparency, and the pigment names. And that just shows how much resistance to fading for light fastness, how pigmented it is for transparency, and then which pigments are in it. So if it's a single pigment, it comes out more vibrant versus a mix of pigments, which can get very muddy if mixed with others. So for my Arteza one, I was really glad that I had this peach pink that they say it's like peach pink, but it's like neon pink. That's one thing, is that their colors on the tubes don't match exactly what the color is when you place it on the palette. So I painted this one and it came out really good. It's just some parts of it I feel like I could have done better, but as for the paint itself, it does not reactivate as much compared to the Holbein, because I could layer this one with many layers without lifting as much pigment from the last layer. There were some parts where I kind of wished it would blend a little better compared to like the Holbein, which blended very smoothly, but that was also, it blended too much sometimes, because for the Holbein one it would blend and I would keep getting lift of colors that I didn't want anymore, and I was trying to paint over. This one, I could, if I saw something was wrong or off, I could just paint over it again and again. The blackberries in this one have a darker tone, which does come with mixed pigments, because most of the pigments are mixed in the Arteza set compared to the Holbein set. The Holbein set has single pigments, which means that it can be mixed together with other colors and still hold vibrancy, compared to the Arteza one, where if it gets mixed in with other mixed paints, it starts becoming a little bit muddy. In this one, it benefited for the blackberries, because the blackberries did need that darker color combination, but in other cases it could always change. I also noticed that when you do more water for this one, it does get a little more patchy, but overall it paints well, and I think the only thing I struggled with was letting it dry sometimes, and I accidentally add extra water on top of it, and it definitely washes it out if it's still wet. And since that took forever to do a time lapse of the Arteza, I just decided to do a quick transition to the Holbein just to see a comparison. So for Holbein, I must say it came out more opaque than I thought it would, and when I added more water, it didn't take away from the pigment. And as you can see in the comparison side by side, that there are differences in quality. Like the neon pink from the Arteza, I could not recreate in the Holbein, and maybe that's my lack of skill, but as a beginner who beginner to gouache specifically, it wouldn't be something that someone would necessarily know how to do. And then for the Holbein one, it does feel more vibrant and rich with color. Like the purple is really purple, or the tangerine in here is very orange and bright and light. It's softer too because of the smoothing. With whenever you add more color, it blends with the color next to it and underneath it. It's a little bit more on the expensive side, and I would say that if you're consistently going to be working with gouache, to invest in something of that quality. But if you're a beginner and just introducing yourself to gouache, Arteza, as well as having a variety of colors in a large amount, so it gives the artist ample opportunity to practice using it. There's also this feeling of not wanting you to use expensive products because you're not good enough. I definitely feel that sometimes when I use my Holbein gouache, because I spent a lot of money on it and it is nice quality, but sometimes I'm not creating quality work, I'm just practicing, and that's where I would switch over to Arteza if I'm just practicing a sketch of an idea or just laying out foundations for something else that I want to do in the future. Is definitely good for sketching out thoughts. Okay, so that's the comparison side by side, and I hope this helps anybody.